Hi there, this is Sandra from the Schwowin's Nest. I'm so glad you're here today. My first DIY for you today is using mostly Dollar Tree products. This is a sign that you probably recognize. It had the love on it with the heart. I just removed as much of the paper as I could and then sanded down the rest. I'm going to give it just one good coat of Rust-Oleum chalk paint in linen white. So Dollar Tree carries these MDF letters, and I was lucky enough to be there, I think when they just unloaded the truck or they just restocked the shelves. Anyhow, I was able to buy a couple of sets of HME, which spells, of course, home, and I'm going to go ahead and give them one coat of black paint. This is acrylic paint with a little bit of baby powder in it to make it more opaque. If you're interested in learning more about the DIY chalk paint recipe that I use with baby powder, I've got that recipe listed down in my description box. While I wait for the letters to dry, I'm just going to take a rough chip brush. You can see it's already got some paint on it. And what I tend to do with these little chip brushes is not wash them after I use them for distressing. And that just gives them a really rough texture and is perfect for when I want to distress. So I'm just going to take some black and go up and down the sign until I get the desired look that I want. So I wanted the letters to have a little bit of distressing too, but I didn't want to brush over them completely. I wanted them to be a nice crisp black. So what I'm doing is taking a brush that already has some white paint on it, and I'm just flicking it over the edges as you can see me doing here. And what that's going to do is just add a little bit of an outline to the letters and make them pop. I think this effect turned out really good. So I've got the sign set up how I want the letters to be, and I'm just going to use a lot of hot glue and glue them right on. These letters are not that heavy, but they do need quite a bit of support. But once they get onto that sign, they just stick really well. So I'm just going to place them where I want them to be and then move on to the next step. I'm going to make a wreath for the O, and I'm going to also then use this floral tape from the Dollar Tree and cover up the hoop because it's, first of all, it's plastic, and secondly, it's not a very good color. It's going to show through the design. So what you do with floral tape is you wrap it around and you give it a little pull. So it's very stretchy, and the stretch makes it stick on itself. I've got a bunch of greenery for this wreath. I have some boxwood, which is on the left, some mini eucalyptus, which is on the right, and of course some lavender. I don't end up using the lavender in the long run. So what I'm going to do is start gluing the boxwood around the outside of the wreath, but I'm actually gluing it right to the side of the form. Boxwood leaves are flat, so it makes it super easy to glue them onto wreaths and forms and things because they're just going to stick so well. So I'm going to continue with the boxwood and I'm going to go all the way around the outside of the wreath. The next one is going to be about a couple of inches down from the first one, so part of the leaves overlap each other. Here's what the wreath looks like with the boxwood. I think that turned out perfect. Now I'm just going to go ahead and take off some of these little stems from the eucalyptus and add those in as well. I just want to fill in some of the gaps. The eucalyptus was a little trickier to get on. I had to kind of push the leaves in between the form and then just glue down with the little part of the stem as you see me doing here. I'd like to take a moment and say thank you to all of my current subscribers and all of my viewers. I really appreciate your support. I love you guys. If you're new to my channel and you like what you see, I'd love for you to stick around by hitting that subscribe button. Did you know that when you hit the thumbs up button and like a video, YouTube promotes it more? If I can get lots of likes on this video, that would really help my channel grow. I missed out filming the little purple flowers that I added into this. It's from a vine that I got at my Dollarama store. It's really pretty and delicate, and I just used that to fill in any of the spaces or gaps. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some of the boxwood into the center to again just camouflage that ring a little bit more. To hang the wreath, I'm using one of these command hooks. I'm going to use hot glue to put it in place because I want that to be permanent and the wreath to be able to be removed. So that just turned out really well. I love these hooks. First of all, because they're white, so it's blending right into the sign. And secondly, that hook is really nice and wide, so it can accommodate a multitude of different sizes of wreath. I've already put a proper hanger on the back of the sign, but I wanted to put something at the top to make it look more finished. So I grabbed a piece of nautical rope and I tied it off in knots at both ends, and I'm going to glue those knots to the top of the sign. That will just add a little decorative hanging piece. This next project is using a can that I've had and used before from the Dollarama store. It's just really nice and tall, and that's what I liked about it. But it was a little too shiny and it had some scratches and blemishes in it. So I'm taking a kitchen sponge and some medium gray chalk paint, and I'm going to go ahead and just pounce on it and give it a base coat. I'm going to try and turn this into a dark galvanized look. The next step is going to be using black. I'm going to take the same sponge, I haven't washed it, and I'm going to go ahead and just apply some of the black. I am dabbing off the majority of it because I want it to be fairly light. And I'm going to also go with a very light touch because I don't want any of that square edge of the sponge to show. If you press too hard, then you're going to get that line, and that's not what you want to achieve. So I'm going to continue to just dab on as much black as I think I want all around the can. So now I did go ahead and cut a piece of the sponge in a circular manner just because it was giving me some lines, and you can see them here a little bit. So I'm just taking some more of the gray and just blending it in a little bit more so you don't see those harsh lines. As I'm sitting here looking out my window editing this video, we got at least 3 inches of snow overnight, but I'm still looking forward to spring. So I'm going to use this Fresh Flower Market stencil as my inspiration, and I have a chalk pen that I'm going to use to write on all of the letters. It's not going to look exactly like the stencil, but I wanted to kind of mimic the stencil look, so that's why I'm leaving some gaps in between the letters. I'll have a free printable very similar to this available on my website. The link is down in my description box. If you don't have handwriting like this, you can definitely use the free printable. If you're doing it on something black, you could probably just use some chalk and then use a pencil to transfer that over. Or if you have some graphite paper, you could do that transfer as well. I used the stencil for the flower, but I didn't go all the way to the edge because I didn't want it to bleed. It did bleed a little bit, but most of the shapes turned out pretty good. I'm going to seal this container because I know it's going to chip. Chalk paint on metal is not a good thing to do, so I did go ahead and take it outside and give it a good spray. I'm now going to take a little rough brush and dip it into some of the dark gray paint and just pounce it on top of all of the white areas just to make them look a little bit more aged and weathered. I plopped in a bunch of pansies and I think it looks super cute. My last project for you today is really easy, and it's using a combination of Dollarama products like this cutting board and Dollar Tree products like the cubes that I'm going to show you shortly. This board is solid acacia wood and it's absolutely gorgeous. These are ABC blocks. These are some other colored blocks that came from the Dollar Tree. And then there's also the small little wood blocks that everybody is familiar with. They also came from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to glue all the blocks together to make little feet. So I'm starting with the largest block and then the next size and the next size. And I'm going to continue to do that for all of the blocks. I'm going to give the blocks a couple of coats of chalk paint, and this is a DIY chalk paint. Again, same recipe down in my description box. I got this recipe from Holly over at Hot Humble Pie. She has an amazing channel. If you have not seen her channel, you gotta go take a look. I get a lot of my crafting ideas from her. She is absolutely fabulous. I'll have her channel linked down in my description box too. Just a quick tip, if you're using any of those colored blocks, they're quite shiny and the chalk paint had a hard time sticking to it, so sand them down a little bit first before you use them. So now I want to make these blocks look like wood grain. So I'm using this Americana gel stain in walnut and a really rough brush. I'm going to put as much paint as I want on here. I want to camouflage the white underneath, but using the rough brush gives me the look of wood grain, and I really like that effect. Once the gel stain is dry, you can go ahead and do another coat if you want it really nice and dark. It's totally up to you. I'm going to be using Starbond glue to glue the cubes to the bottom of the board. I'm going to use the medium viscosity, which just means it has a little bit more working time to it. And I'm going to put the glue on the cube, and I'll use the accelerator to spray on the board. The combination of these two products together make the glue dry lickety-split, and you don't even have to worry about anything oozing out. It's just so quick. Within 3 seconds of holding it there, you can actually watch the glue harden, and it hardens to a clear finish. Absolutely fabulous glue. If you're interested in learning more about these Starbond glues, or if you would like to purchase, I do have a link down in my description box, and I have a coupon code for 10% off. So make sure you check that out. Now, I know I said that this wood is beautiful, but I did want it to have a little bit more of a rustic look to it. So I'm taking my chippy brush again and some white paint and just very gently brushing across the top of it, mostly hitting the edges. I'm also going to distress the feet at the bottom. I really hope you enjoyed these 3 DIYs today and got some inspiration to create some home decor of your own. If you liked what you saw, I would love for you to stick around. Hit that subscribe button. Those 2 black arrows will show you exactly where to click. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. See you in the next one.